Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 57, Case Closed. It was cold that day, with thick dark clouds and strong wind. This slave was distributing fortune cookies to the various imperial concubines. When I came out of Kwei Palace, this slave happened to encounter imperial concubine Muniang setting out and so withdrew to the corner of the wall. It was then that the slave heard someone in the midst of reprimanding another and took a peek, only to see that the eunuch in charge of Kwei Palace was arguing with Aunt Fu Ling inside. "Why did you keep silent on this matter during the first trial?" It was quiet in the hall, except for the sound of record-taking. A few lamps had been lit. Kong Chiu, who had been investigating for several nights in a row, had already drunk many a pot of strong tea. Right this moment, both of his hands were clasped before him as he asked Yinzu, who was kneeling in the hall. Yinzu's mouth opened and closed. "Replying to your excellency," this slave thought that this was just a trivial matter. And because of the strong wind that day, this slave didn't clearly hear what they were arguing about. So, this slave was afraid of giving the wrong answer. "If that's the case, then why did you suddenly confess?" Fu Linye questioned. Yinzu wrung the corner of his clothes and gulped down his saliva in panic and trepidation. It took him quite some effort before he replied in a small voice, "This slave was scared to death by the beatings of the prison guard grandpa. Ever since the slave was thrown into the prison, I've been listening to the sound of whipping every night. This slave's godfather was beaten half to death until he confessed everything regardless of importance. This slave is truly afraid now. You are in the solemn place of interrogation. How dare you ramble on and on?" Fu Linye rebuked in a stern voice. Yinzu was so frightened by him that he trembled and stammered while kneeling on the ground. This slave had no idea that she would commit such a despicable act. It's easy for one to be beaten into a confession under heavy torture. This person's words cannot be trusted. Fu Linye said to Kong Chiu. "How can such a confession be submitted before the emperor? The detailed discussions of the third trial are all recorded in writing. Whether it's true or not, His Majesty will naturally make a ruling himself." Kong Chiu said. "Once the statement has been transcribed and copied, the Secretariat Elder will require a copy on their end, too." Fu Linye had never expected a Qiang to come charging out of nowhere when the case had already progressed to this stage. He could stomp on second young Master Xiao because he was certain that second young Master Xiao could not retaliate this time. If Yuan Lu could not clear his name, it meant that second young Master Xiao would not be able to clear his name, too. Who knew that Kwei Palace would be dragged in this as well? This was just great. Everyone was tainted. Could they even continue to investigate this case in depth? Fu Linye could immediately tell that this Yinzu was not simple. He waited until the third trial before he was willing to voice this out. Most likely, someone had planted him here to wait. Fu Linye was burning with anxiety. He was different from Wei Huixing, who had the Wei clan behind him, who had ties to the other great clans. Even if Wei Huixing could not explain himself, he would only end up with a punishment based on the outcome of the investigation. But what about him? He had no influential clan to fall back on. Seeing his expression undergoing several changes, Kong Chiu said, "Kwei Palace is the imperial harem after all. It's not appropriate for us external ministers to investigate, so we still have to discuss this matter before the emperor. Your Excellency Fu, go back and get some rest. We'll meet again in front of His Majesty." Fu Linye rose to his feet. Even though he was anxious, he could still plaster a smile on his face as he cupped his hands in respect to Kong Chiu and retreated in a hurry. At this moment, the sky was still dark and bitterly cold. Fu Linye urged the groom on. The horse carriage crushed noisily over the snow as it rushed towards Uhua Pavilion. Lifting the hem of his robe, he stepped down and hurried on upstairs. Shi Hongxian, who was versed in opera tunes, was presently discussing his new work with Shen Zequan. Shen Zequan was tired of the Jin Yui's official robe, so he was wearing a wide-sleeved garment as he leaned against the chair and listened, all the while opening and closing the folding fan in his hand. Fu Linye was not expecting Shen Zequin's presence when he barged in. Shen Zequin closed his fan gently and turned a blind eye to Fu Linye's sorry sight. Without rising to greet him, he merely said with a smile, "Your Excellency, the censor has come a little too late. You've missed the wonderful timing." Shi Hongxian was a little displeased. He waved away the procuress who had hurried over and had her close the door. He did not get up either and simply let Fu Linye take a seat on his own and said, "Lin Yi, why have you come here? You should have sent someone over in advance to give notice. It's just a few steps away. Did you have to hurry over like this and disgrace yourself so?" Not only was Fu Linye older than Shi Hongxian, his rank was also higher than Shi Hongxian. Yet he was the one being chastised by Shi Hongxian like a junior being berated. This made him unhappy. He loathed the way Shi Hongxian was acting all high and mighty. "It's extremely urgent." It was as if Fu Linye did not hear the rebuke. He smiled as he lifted his robe to take his seat. He said, "I rushed here as soon as I left the Ministry of Justice. So you can tell me if it's urgent or not." Only then did Shi Hongxian ask, "What's the matter?" Fu Linye looked at Shen Zequin. Shen Zequin lifted his fan and said, "It is I who have been rude." With that, he moved to get up and leave. Shi Hongxian hurriedly said, "Lanzhou, what are you doing? Sit down. We are in the same boat, weathering through thick and thin. What is there that you can't listen to? Lin Yi, go ahead and tell me. Don't you recognize this Shen Lanzhou? He's the great teacher of our Shi clan." Fu Linye initially only saw Shen Zequin as a lackey who toiled for the Shi clan in an attempt to survive. Who knew that Shi Hongxian would value him this much? But tonight, Fu Linye had indeed come at the wrong time. If he had been a little earlier or a little later, Shi Hongxian would not have spoken so highly of Shen Zequin. But they had only just finalized the follow-up plan to suppress the Yao clan, closing the loop tight around the latter's neck. Shi Hongxian just happened to be thinking of showing Shen Zequin some due respect. Now that he had elevated him, he would no longer be able to call him his friend as he wished in the future. Shen Zequin smiled and looked at Fu Linye. Knowing what was expected of him, Fu Linye immediately said tactfully, "Your Excellency the judge, please take a seat." Shi Hongxian shifted his legs to step on the tiger skin and said, "Go on. What's the urgency?" Fu Linye said, "I was on jury duty earlier at the Ministry of Justice and heard the news that Fu Ling, who had instigated Gui Sheng into carrying out the assassination, was involved with Kwei Palace. Second young master, the one living in Kwei Palace, is imperial concubine Muniang Niang. This matter is going to be presented to the emperor tomorrow morning. When the time comes, it won't be a matter of investigating just second young master Xiao." Shi Hongxian placed his hand on his leg for support. After a moment of silence, he said to Shen Zequin, "You don't know it, I forgot to mention it to you earlier, but our man is connected to Miru." Most likely, Shi Hongxian did not forget to mention it, but more like he did not want to mention it. All this while, he had been on guard and so, he had never uttered a word of this. Shen Zequin knew this all too well and merely said, "Isn't Miru originally Pan Rugui's woman? I remember her younger brother." "That's right." Shi Hongxian was unwilling to speak the truth and merely told half of the story. "Pan Rugui is dead. She has nowhere to go, doesn't she? At that time, when his residence was searched and raided, they wanted to release her from Pan Rugui's residence and had her fill in as a palace courtesan. But His Majesty could not bear to let her be one, so he asked me to help. I made use of that bit of friendship I had with Yanking and had her swapped out. Then I found a residence for the two siblings to hide in. Later, His Majesty could endure it no longer and insisted on getting her into the palace. Secretariat Elder Hai even made a scene over it. You know about this, too." Shen Zequin did not really seem to care. He nodded and said, I've heard of it. This doesn't bode well then. This case should have concluded already. Why did complications arise again? He looked at Fu Linye when he said this. Although he said it with a smile, it sounded a little like he was blaming Fu Linye for not keeping a close watch. Shi Hongxian was frowning, too, as he spoke. You are on the jury to supervise. Can't you just think of a way to suppress this matter? It will only stir up trouble if it gets presented to the emperor. Fu Linye had plenty of complaints too, but he could only say, "Second young master, my words carry little weight. We're talking about Kong Qiu here. He's a stubborn man who doesn't listen to advice. He's Secretariat Elder Hai's man. How would he listen to me? What's of top priority now is to decide what to do next. If Imperial concubine Mu Niang got involved too, then who would still dare to continue investigating? I'm afraid even His Majesty himself would not be willing to." Shi Hongxian pondered over it in irritation and then asked, "Where is that Yinzu?" Fu Linye instantly understood his intention and hurriedly waved his hands and said, "We can't kill him. Second young master, Secretariat Elder Hai is already on the alert now. If we silence him at this critical juncture, then it only proved to him that there's something questionable about us. It was originally going well. How did the Kwei Palace suddenly got involved out of the blue?" Shi Hongxian covered up his teacup with the lid and said, "No. We can't continue to investigate this case any further. Before the audience with the Emperor tomorrow morning, we have to think of a way to make His Majesty sever the notion of a further investigation. Muru was still of great use. They must let no one else take her down right at this moment." Fu Linye fidgeted in his seat and said, "That's right. It'd be best to pin it all on Fu Ling. Conclude this case as fast as possible, and everyone can heave a sigh of relief. But from the way Kong Qiu acted, it looks to me that he clearly wants to get to the bottom of the matter. The crux still lies with Secretariat Elder Hai." Shen Zequan pressed his fingers against the teacup for warmth. Hai Lianji was the one who reviewed Kong Qiu's papers during the imperial examination back then, so Kong Qiu could be partially considered a student of Hai Lianji, whom Hai Lianji selected for promotion. He usually has the most respect for Hai Lianji. Hai Lianji wants to send him into the Grand Secretariat. He handles all his cases beautifully. He's of the right age too, and he comes from a humble family in the Chaijun Commandery. He hits all the right notes with Hai Lianji." Shi Hongxian said, "What fucking bad luck. We set up second young master Xiao, and all of them secretly enjoyed the show as they waited to see second young master Xiao suffer in silence. Now that something has happened, they all want to feign ignorance after having benefited from it. Let's do this." Shen Zequan said, "Your Excellency Fu, when the confession is presented before the Emperor tomorrow morning, don't mention Kwei Palace. Just say the Imperial Army's name is not clear yet. Yuan Lu has not admitted his guilt yet, right? This is an opportunity. As long as Yuan Lu is still around, then second young master Xiao has accepted bribes. He won't be able to clear himself of suspicions." Fu Linye rubbed his leg and said, "But even if I don't mention it, Kong Qiu will still bring it up. We won't be able to hide it. Mending the fold even after the sheep is lost." Shen Zequan nudged the fan open bit by bit, then closed it again and said, "Earlier, Your Excellency's speech before the Emperor was a righteous one when you said it's for the sake of the Empire and State. If you were to change your statement because of a confession that has yet to be verified, then I'm afraid His Majesty will come to question your loyalty, too. So why not latch on to second young master Xiao and put on an upright appearance instead?" "That's right," Shi Hongxian said. "We can't be thrown into confusion now. Since you have already stepped forth to make your stand, it wouldn't look good if you were to pull out now. Let's just continue with this. As for the rest, I'll naturally have my own way. It's almost dawn. You mustn't stay for long. Head back first for a bath and a change of clothes. Just watch the way the wind blows when you are before His Majesty and improvise as the situation calls for. Fu Linye came in a hurry, then left again in a hurry without even taking a sip of tea. As soon as he left, Shi Hongxian spat behind his back. If he hadn't been so eager for quick success and instant gains and reported second young master Xiao matter with the silk from Quan City to the top without saying a word that day, Hai Lianji might not have noticed it. Shi Hongxian felt fed up and continued, those who come from poor and humble households are the most short-sighted. For that bit of glory, he didn't even dare to give us prior notice. See what happens now. What a waste of the wiki piece Yanking left us. After this, second young master Xiao will keep a tight guard over the account books. It'll be difficult to get at them later. Position and wealth are ailments of the rich. Shen Zequin said. At present, we need to keep him from interfering in our plans. How is it going with the 8 great training divisions matter? Han Cheng's younger brother took over the post. Shi Hongxian said, second young master Xiao has set up the 8 great training divisions into a heavily fortified network of relationships. We won't be able to lay our hands on it easily. To think he managed to hold all the important posts firmly in his hand in such a short period of time. It's not going to be easy to dismantle it. Even so, there are also descendants of the 8 great clans among the soldiers he selected for appointment. Shen Zequin smiled and said, you'll still get your chance. When Shen Zequin emerged and got into the carriage, he saw a Guqin placed inside. Qiao Tianya lifted the curtain. In disguise with the face of a burly man, he said, that Guqin is mine. Master mustn't throw it away. It took me quite a lot of effort to swindle it away. It looks valuable. Shen Zequin did not touch it. Where did you get the money? Qiao Tianya laughed merrily. A reward from the ladies. But this Guqin was obviously something that money could not buy. Qiao Tianya had no wish to speak of it because it most likely had something to do with his family. So, Shen Zequin did not probe any further. As usual, the horse carriage sent Shen Zequin home so he could tidy up. After changing his robes, he entered the palace. Liege Unhung dismissed the morning court and told the important officials left to take a seat in Mingli Hall. He himself read the entire confession statement and stayed silent for a long time. Hai Lianji had only just recovered from his illness, so Liege Unhung got someone to serve him a bowl of warm goat's milk. He took a few sips. No one in the hall said a word. Liege Unhung said, why are we back to Kwei Palace again? Yuan Lu hasn't been fully investigated yet. Kong Qiu answered, this matter concerns the imperial harem, so His Majesty should be the one to make a ruling. Liege Unhung immediately got anxious and said, what ruling? Even if she went to Kwei Palace, it can't have anything to do with imperial concubine Mu. Who knows if what he says is true or false? Hai Lianji said in a steady voice, of course, it's false. Right, it's false. With Hai Lianji as his backing, Li Jianheng's voice grew louder and clearer. The eunuchs are the most treacherous. To survive, what kind of lies can they not fabricate? He thought he could save his own life by getting close to concubine Mu. Zhen is going to make that absurd and befuddled head of his role. Even so, Xiao Jiming, who had not uttered a word regarding this case before, raised his eyes and continued, this concerns the safety of the Son of Heaven. We can't be careless when it comes to certain matters. He hit the nail on the head as soon as he spoke. Wei Huixing said, of course we can't muddle through this. We have not investigated Yuan Lu yet, have we? The lead investigator of this case is the Minister of Justice. The left and right censor-in-chiefs of the Court of Judicial Review, as well as the Jin Yue, are on the jury. Your Excellency Wei has repeatedly intervened. This is inappropriate. Xiao Jiming said with poise and courtesy, even giving Wei Huixing time to speak, but Wei Huixing did not dare to continue. And so, Xiao Jiming picked up where he left off. This case concerns the imperial army and the imperial harem, a scene should not have been made right out in the open. It's not the reputation of everyone here that is at stake but the dignity of His Majesty. More than 10 days have passed since this case occurred. There is still no substantial proof against that judge of the Imperial Army, and no clarity on that confession statement from the brothel. Everything has been delayed in the hands of the investigating censor of the Chief Surveillance Bureau. From what this subject can see, neither the lead investigator nor the jury has done their jobs. Let's leave aside the wasting of time and energy for now. It's the overstepping of authority that is the real problem. Fu Linye thought of the words Shi Hongxian had said last night. He found himself in a difficult position again when faced up against Xiao Jiming. But when he saw that Li Jianheng had not said a word and that Hai Lianji did not seem to have the intention to help him out of the fix, he could only brace himself to keep his composure. He said, Xiao Shizi has lived in Liege for too long, the Chu capital is not the frontiers, after all. There are many matters that are settled differently based on the difference in relevancy, so naturally, any abuse of power within the military all falls under the charge of insubordination. Under the military law, the offender would be executed. Zhao Hui, who held an official appointment in the military, stepped out and continued, His Highness, Xiao Shizi should not be the one to speak on this matter, but it has been so long, and not even one of you has thought to remind His Majesty. Even their Excellencies censors-in-chief seem to be in dreamland the way they handled this case in such a muddled way. The token of the Imperial Army Viceroy has been suspended for over 10 days. The censor has already conducted a search 3 times. And what has the investigation shown up? Aren't we not owed an explanation? Fu Linye said, didn't we find out about the matter of the silk from Quan City? You're being asked about the assassination case right now. Li Jianheng threw aside the confession statement. Why are you dredging up this irrelevant case? Fu Linye answered hastily, Your Majesty, Xiao Qiye is the root of all problems. He can't clear his involvement in the other cases, too. Your Majesty, the assassination case must be investigated, but the bribery case must be diligently followed through as well. What bribe did he take? Li Jianheng stood up and pointed at Fu Linye, silk from Quan City. Silk from Quan City. Did you think Zhen didn't know of this matter? Zhen was still hanging out with him on the streets back then. Zhen know about this more than you do. The assassin had already killed his way right before Zhen. Yet you aren't anxious, and is only still fixated on this minor issue. Looks like the safety of the Son of Heaven is of no importance to you. Fu Linye did not expect Li Jianheng to turn around and rebuke him after he fastidiously deliberated over his words to reproach Xiao Qiye a few days back, so he could not help but kneel in fear and said, Your Majesty. Your Majesty is this subject's sovereign. It would devastate this subject if even a strand of Your Majesty's hair was harmed. Your Majesty. Everything has its own priority in terms of importance and urgency. For this assassination case, Minister Kong had not slept for several nights in a row. Xiao Jiming said, Cian had handed over his authority token, too. In order to avoid a conflict of interest, he doesn't even dare to ask about the progress of the case and has been reflecting on his faults the whole day at home. It would be better to clarify everything all at once now: the current progress of the case, the stage the investigation is at, and the future course of investigation. This way, my residents can be better prepared for it. The Vice Minister of Rights, Zhang Su, stepped out and said, the case is clear as day and involves the Imperial Army. It does not concern the Prince of Libe's residence. Who went and conducted a search there? This is against decorum. Should the news spread, everyone will think that it's His Majesty who is investigating the Prince of Libe, and the friendly relations between the Chu capital and the frontiers will be impacted. Li Jianheng knew of the search at the prince's residence, but he had to feign ignorance. Dumb as he was, he still understood that Xiao Jiming had been observing everything that had happened these few days. There would be trouble if they kept on holding Xiao Qiye responsible. Li Jianheng immediately kicked Fu Linye a few times with his foot and scolded him, How dare you? Who allowed you to investigate the Prince of Liege's residence? My order was for you to investigate the Imperial Army's office compound. Enduring the kicks, Fu Linye hurriedly said, it wasn't this subject who investigated. Judge Shen was the one who went. Shen Zequan was momentarily stunned before he said, perplexed, this official received the imperial edict to assist Your Excellency in the investigation. It was Your Excellency who exhorted me, saying that the imperial army is as impenetrable as a metal bucket. I'm afraid there will be many accounts that are both authentic and falsified. When the time comes, do a thorough search when you're at the prince's residence, and so this official went. At that time, there were many people who were serving tea and water at the hall. Just call in one of them for questioning, and they can all tell you that it was Your Excellency who told me that. Fu Linye said through clenched teeth, I only told you to do a thorough search. I did not mention the words prince's residence. Shen Zequan said with a severe countenance, this official take orders from the Son of Heaven and would never speak a word of falsehood before His Majesty. If this official did not have Your Excellency's order and went alone to the prince's residence, then how could there have been an accompanying censor with me? Fu Linye saw the malice in Shen Zequan's eyes and knew that he had incriminated the wrong person in his moment of haste. He looked around and said, Your Excellency Wei, didn't Your Excellency Wei? Wei Huixing instantly yelled to cut him off, shut up. How dare you implicate others before His Majesty for what you've done of your own accord? Do you have no shame? Delaying the case is minor, but ruining the goodwill between His Majesty and Liege is of grave concern. You really have no sense for the gravity of matters. At this point, Fu Linye already knew that he had been kicked forth to be the scapegoat. He had to take the blame for Li Jianheng, for Wei Huixing, for Shi Hongxian and the rest of them. And these were all people he could not afford to offend. When the higher UPS were fighting amongst themselves, it was up to him to clean up the mess. Fu Linye immediately kowtowed and said, this subject had a momentary lapse of judgment. And yet you still dare to make excuses. Li Jianheng pointed at him and admonished, Qian's authority token may have been suspended, but before the case is concluded, he is still the viceroy of the imperial army. Investigate as you will, but how dare you also have an attitude towards the imperial army? Seems to me that you aren't investigating the case at all. You are clearly trying to eliminate the dissidents. Li Jianheng had not lost his temper ever since he denounced Xiao Qiye that day, and now he was chiding Fu Linye until the latter trembled from head to toe. Fu Linye was sensible too, and knew to shed tears as he kneeled, completely restoring all dignity to Xiao Jiming. Xiao Jiming waited until Li Jianheng rebuked to his heart's content before saying, His Excellency is just eager to investigate the case. Since the case has caused a commotion to such extent, why not dismiss Qian from his post? The Chief Surveillance Bureau's impeachment memorials these days make reasonable sense. If you ask me, Qian cannot be excused for his negligence. He is indeed ill-suited to carry on his duties before His Majesty. With that, he smiled again. All the testimonies are pointing the finger at him. If he really did this kind of disgraceful, treacherous deed, then all 9 generations in his clan should be executed. With everyone present here today, then to avoid conflicts of interests and to clear myself of suspicions, strip me of my Liege military forces authority token, too. This official has already sent a letter to Liege to ask father to remove his crown and robe, and enter the Chu capital with my wife and son as commoners without rank to stand trial. With Xiao Jiming's statement, Li Jianheng panicked. It would not do for him to respond or remain silent on the matter, so he could only look toward Hai Lianji. Hai Lianji held gazes with Xiao Jiming for some time. The older man suddenly laughed and said, Xiao Shai suggests. Isn't this case already closed? So why tease this old subject again? Kong Qiu composed himself and swiftly followed up, that's right, the Secretariat Elder is right. Although Yuan Lu has bought a house on credit from the Donglong broker, that is, after all, a private affair between him and Fu Ling. It isn't meant to be made public. The viceroy oversees 20,000 men, how would it be possible for him to investigate every single matter personally? As for the bribery case, Yuan Lu had been denying all this while, so we cannot only listen to Xiang Yun's one-sided statement. This subject has already ascertained that the madam most likely bore hatred out of love towards the viceroy, so her excuse doesn't stand. Liege Unhung personally stepped forward and said, since the case is closed, then there is no need to mention it again. Xiao Shizi, please rise quickly. Liege Unhung did not want to investigate further either. The involvement of Kwei Palace meant that it would involve Miru, too. Fu Linye was already a pawn to be disposed of at one's convenience. To these people, Miru was an even lesser being. If there were really something between her and these cases, then he, Liege Unhung, would really be all alone by himself from then on. Liege Unhung watched these people, who were still talking and laughing as usual, but he felt as though they were not human. What stood behind them were monstrosities that far surpassed that of the throne, like the unstoppable floods and hurricanes. Being a sovereign did not mean that he was free and unstrained. Every single move of his could have repercussions on the situation. Those that he raged against and delighted in could all become vulnerabilities that proved fatal to him. He was no longer his own master. He was a prisoner chained to the dragon throne. How terrifying! Liege Unhung hugged himself deep in his heart. It was as if he was standing on thin ice when he stood beside these people. If he were to accidentally fall someday, then he would end up like his imperial elder brother. In the blink of an eye, he would be trampled into a bloody pulp by the contending hooves of the various parties in their fight for power. His life and death were not in the least bit important. What's important was merely the fact that he was the only one whose surname happened to be Li. But, what if there was someone else in this world with the surname Li? Liege Unhung trembled at the thought and instantly broke out in cold sweat. Impossible. He gloomily muttered to himself. There won't be any. End chapter. Note. Chen Yejin, 589–665, was a general in the period between Sui and Tang dynasties, who often ambushed his enemies on the roads. This proverb is used to describe a situation where someone shows up unexpectedly and disrupts a plan. It is also used to describe an unwelcome busybody who shows up where they are not wanted. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 58, Heavy Snow. The snow fell for several days. With the assassination case hastily concluded, the turbulent waves of earlier were swiftly buried under the snowstorm, turning into nothing more than a vast expanse of white. It was at this moment that Liege Unhung heard that Xiao Qiye had fallen ill. He had reportedly caught a cold and yet he still faced the wall in self-reflection until he eventually collapsed onto the couch, apparently too ill to even get up. Liege Unhung braved the snow and set out on a carriage with his retinue to the Prince of Liege's residence. He led the various ministers and once again, became good friends with Xiao Qiye. All the others had left the room. Xiao Qiye's complexion was pale as he let Chen Yang help him up to sit face to face with Liege Unhung. Liege Unhung said, "Zhen feel very ashamed for rebuking you that day after believing those slanders." Xiao Qiye said, "The ruler and his ministers are interdependent on one another. That's the way it should be. Your Majesty needs not take it to heart." Liege Unhung fell silent, as did Xiao Qiye. In the end, they had both come to the point of addressing themselves as ruler and minister even in private. Liege Unhung forced a laugh and said, "Zhen used to think that you were made of iron and wouldn't get sick. Zhen didn't expect you to be no different from the common man when you fall ill." Xiao Qiye said, "This subject is merely an ordinary man with a body made of flesh and blood. I'd still bleed if I were to get stabbed." Liege Unhung recalled the night at the hunting grounds where Xiao Qiye had spurred his horse into the Jinyi Wei all alone as the Jinyi Wei outflanked them. He had barely come out of it alive and subsequently, he had put him onto the dragon throne. Humans were truly strange. When they abhorred a person, they would only remember all that was bad about said person. But once guilt came calling, they would only remember his goodness. It was as if they had taken to heart those words they had used to cuss the other party with others, thereby feeling more and more ashamed. There were plenty of things Li Jianheng wanted to ask Xiao Qiye. But at this moment, he did not feel like asking any more. Xiao Qiye said that a body of flesh and blood would bleed. Then, what about the friendship that had grown apart? So, Li Jianheng said. Sitting in this position is not a choice, Zhen. I willingly make. See, Ian, you've never sat here, so you won't understand how it feels like to be in a precarious position. The others all think that sitting in this position will make them happy and carefree. In the past, I used to think so, too. But this isn't the case at all. Xiao Qiye said nothing. Li Jianheng's eyes suddenly reddened. He did not know what made him sad either, so he could only say, I was originally a hopeless case. I'm telling you, I'm very much aware of it. If my brothers hadn't died, this position would not fall into my hands. But what have I done wrong? I have always wanted to be an idle prince. You people shove me up here without even asking. I have done my best, see Ian. I have really done my best. I'm not capable enough to control this power over the world, I can only let it control me. Li Jianheng covered his face in agony and started to choke with sobs. See Ian, it's too high sitting up here that I can't even get a clear look at anything. Xiao Qiye's eyes reddened too. He said, we are brothers. Why would I blame you? Li Jianheng forcefully wiped away his tears and said, but when all is said and done, I have marred our brotherhood. Xiao Qiye said, why blame yourself for something you have no choice over? I'm the one who has been too ostentatious in the way I do things. I deserve to be put in my place by someone else. Li Jianheng said, such is your temper. You can't be faulted for this. They are only egging me on like this for their own sake. I've let you down, see Ian. They both seemed to have buried the hatchet and returned to the time they were each other's confidants. But the usual lightheartedness of clowning and jesting around had eventually given way to an awkward atmosphere that was more deference and less closeness. Li Jianheng did not stay long and left after he was done saying his piece. But before he left, he showered Xiao Qiye with lots of rewards and urged him to rest well. As soon as the people cleared out, Xiao Qiye tossed away the pillow supporting his back. Rising to his feet, he draped on his clothes and put on his shoes before heading for Xiao Jiming's study. Xiao Jiming was in the study listening to Zhao Hui speaking on military affairs. When he saw Xiao Qiye coming in, he waved his hand at him and motioned for him to sit in front of him. Zhao Hui did not stop and continued to say, the Ministry of Revenue has already investigated the expenditure of military funds before the new year. The Grand Secretariat is still in discussion regarding the sum after the new year. The snow is heavy this year, and the people of Juexi are happy because the timely snow is an auspicious omen for a prosperous year, and they can look forward to a good harvest this year. But in Zhongdu, people are already starting to freeze to death. In recent years, the prefectural yamen in Zhongbo has been short of manpower. With this heavy snow, there are few people who will be able to go and repair the collapsed shelters. Xiao Jiming drank his hot tea and thought for a moment. Tell the Ministry of Revenue to set aside 40,000 silver from Libe's military funds at the start of the year to be used as repair funds for Chse province of Zhongbo. Chse province was situated right next to the northeast supply route. This favor that Xiao Jiming was doing could be said to be the rendering of timely assistance, much like sending charcoal in snowy weather. Understanding his intent, Zhao Hui lifted his brush to record it in the book. The prefectural yamen of Zhongbo lacks manpower, and there aren't many officials in the capital who are willing to go over there. But it's indeed not a long-term solution to leave it hanging like this. Xiao Qiye poured tea for Xiao Jiming. Hua Saiqian was unwilling to take charge of this in the past. This is a hot potato. Taking it means having to fork out your own money. Xiao Jiming moved his fingers along the teacup and said, "But now, Secretariat High is in charge. This year's imperial examination should be to seek a suitable candidate for Zongbo. Most of the new officials are inexperienced and have no prestige to speak of. They can be low-ranking officials, but they won't be able to secure their positions if they are to be high-ranking officials of the border provinces." Xiao Qiye said. "The one going to Zongbo to look after it still has to be selected from the central administration. There is a shortage of talents who can assume responsibility and are up to the task nowadays." Xiao Jiming said, "Zongbo used to be a vassal state in the past. Thanks to the Shen clan, there were many deep-rooted and complicated collusions taking place under the table and plenty of matters that couldn't be explained or accounted for. When Shen Wei was still around, it was already a set stage. 5 years ago, it was abruptly thrown into anarchy and is now a land of chaos. At that time, the common folks fled away from it because of the Bianches massacres of the cities. The imperial court was late in coming out with a pacification policy. Those who are still in Zongbo are mostly the remaining military households from the garrison army and the roving bandits. As they say, barren hills and untamed rivers will produce undesirable citizens, and the current situation in Zongbo is nothing but such. If the typical official were to go, he won't be able to hold the fort. On the contrary, he will be shown who's actually in charge. If the imperial court is willing to send a military general with an army, they will still be able to take charge of the matter on the pretext of suppressing the bandits." Zhao Hui closed the book neatly. "But looking at the situation, I suppose they won't dare to do it." "Of course, they would not dare to. At present, the Chu capital already had the Libe's armored cavalry to the northeast and the Qidong garrison troops to the southeast. These were both frontier lands with massive military forces. Holding them in check was already a strain. Taking the risk to send one out again would make it even harder to deal with once conferment was bestowed. But it would not do to leave things as it was in Zongbo, either. This issue had to be resolved through a compromise. This is a headache for the Grand Secretariat to deal with." Xiao Jiming pushed aside the military affairs and looked at Xiao Qiye. "How did it go?" Xiao Qiye's elbows were propped against the armrests of the chair. He wanted to prop up his legs too, but he could not find a spot to. So, he just said, "You gave His Majesty such a scare. He's so frightened that he still wants to continue being friends with me even if it doesn't please him to. Both of you are dining and drinking companions to begin with." Xiao Jiming smiled. "Let him fear. It's better than him not being afraid. Fu Linye has made a great effort." Xiao Qiye said. "I'll have to find a chance to thank him sometime." "You might as well thank the friend who has been helping you in secret," Xiao Jiming said. "Someone on the inside has put in quite the effort for this case to conclude so smoothly. Given Fu Linye's experience, he shouldn't have been so careless as to fall for the trap this easily." Xiao Qiye merely smiled and changed the subject. "Where's Gu Jin? Call him in. I have orders for him." "It'd be better to call all of them in." "I have orders too." Xiao Jiming turned his head to Zhao Hui and motioned to him. Zhao Hui headed out to call them over, and Meng flew in immediately right after. It landed on the clothes rack, and the snow it shook off wetted the clothes that had been hung up to dry. Ding Tao took off his shoes before hopping in and rushing over to stand as ramrod straight before Xiao Jiming. Behind him, Chen Yang and Gu Jin entered. Xiao Shi Sui. The person Ding Tao held in esteem the most was Xiao Jiming. Revealing his snowy white teeth, he said, "Xiao Shi Sui, please go ahead and give your command. This Ding Tao will not hesitate to brave fire and water for you." "Oi!" Xiao Qiye lifted the teacup and said, "Why have you never said that to the second young master?" Ding Tao replied, "You're always throwing me out. What wrong have you done to make the second young master throw you out?" Xiao Jiming asked in a mild tone. Ding Tao immediately replied, "I haven't. It's just that the second young master is always getting me to keep an eye on that. Xiao Qiye almost spewed out his tea. He closed the lid with a clatter and signaled to Chen Yang with his eyes. Chen Yang promptly rapped Ding Tao on the head. Ding Tao, still not knowing what was happening, covered his head and did not dare to say another word. Xiao Qiye's tongue was hurting from being scalded. He said, "Drag him out and bury him on the spot." "What's with that complaint? Let Gu Jin explain." Ding Tao said in aggrievement, "I'm not." Chen Yang covered his mouth and dragged him out. After opening the door, he really buried him in the snow. Gu Jin thought to himself, "What do I say? What the hell can I say?" Standing before Xiao Jiming, he saw that Xiao Jiming was about to put down the teacup, so he immediately kneeled on one knee and respectfully took the teacup before setting it on the table. He said clumsily, "Xiao Shisui, it's hot." Xiao Jiming was not in a hurry to ask on seeing this. He looked at each one of them in turn until Xiao Qiye felt uncomfortable, as if he was sitting on pins and needles. Xiao Jiming asked, "What's the matter? Is the second young master hiding someone in the residence?" Xiao Qiye said, "How is that possible? De Gur, I have not even proposed marriage yet. There's no reason for me to tarnish a maiden's reputation." Xiao Jiming looked at him for a long while. Xiao Qiye did not know if Xiao Jiming had believed him, but Xiao Jiming dismissed the topic and told him to continue. Xiao Qiye found a comfortable position and said, "I'm thinking of asking Gu Jin to do a check on Zhangyun Villa." Zhao Hui pondered and said, "Zhangyun Villa is on Donglong Street. It's a mixed bag of crooks and honest folks to begin with. It will not be easy to investigate in secret. Does the second young master think there's something suspicious about Xiang Yun?" "There's definitely something suspicious about her," Xiao Qiye said. "Wei Huixin has her testimony in hand. Why would she offend me for no good reason?" Zhao Hui said to Xiao Jiming, "Xiao Shisui, I heard someone said it was hatred born out of love." Xiao Jiming said to Xiao Qiye at his own pace, "Since she has become an old flame, then you must have a new lover now. It's been a few days since I entered the capital, why haven't I heard you mention it?" Xiao Qiye said, "I'm just bored with fooling around. There's nothing else to it. Why blink your eyes when you are talking?" Xiao Jiming said, "If you're blinking, it means you're lying. Which clan is this maiden from? This matter has been on father's and your sister-in-law's minds. If there's indeed something this time, then what's so hard about telling me? We'll handle it for you immediately." "There isn't one." Xiao Qiye could not sit still any longer. He wanted to run but he did not dare to. So, he could only say, "There isn't one." "Truly? What am I getting married for? Isn't that just going to hold up her future? Once you get married, you'll mature a little." Xiao Jiming wanted to pat his head but he could not do it in front of his brother's subordinates as it would diminish his dignity and authority. Thus, he lowered his voice, "How long can your sister-in-law and I keep you company? In Chu capital, there has to be someone who can hold a lantern or light a lamp for you and chat with you. No matter who catches your eyes, father and I will do our best. As long as you like her, we can settle it for you even if she's a lady of a noble clan." Xiao Qiye originally thought of bantering his way through it. But on hearing this, he suddenly felt touched and said, "Commander-in-Chief Qi. You can do it even if it's someone like Commander-in-Chief Qi." The expression in Xiao Jiming's eyes underwent a slight change. He did not expect Xiao Qiye to like someone like the Commander-in-Chief. After a moment's pause, he said with complicated feelings, "I'll consent to it if she hasn't hacked you to death by then." That night, as Xiao Qiye was getting on the bed, he suddenly stepped on an object. He bent over to pick it up from the woolen rug. It was a pearl that was used as a button. Xiao Qiye's eyes followed the pearl to the base of the bed. "Chen Yang!" Xiao Qiye suddenly opened the window and shouted. Chen Yang walked over from the foot of the stairs. Xiao Qiye thought for a moment while looking at him before saying, "Make a trip to the jewelry shop on Jinwu Street tomorrow morning." Before Chen Yang could reply, Xiao Qiye raised his hand and tossed a box to him. "Tell them to make these into earrings. Make one of all the designs available." Xiao Qiye thought long and hard before continuing. "Keep it simple. Nothing too fancy." Chen Yang looked at the box and asked. All. Xiao Qiye closed the windows. After a moment of silence, he opened them again. Chen Yang did not dare to move. He held the box with both hands and called out in bewilderment, "Master." Xiao Qiye said, "Put it on the account." End chapter.